Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched AEW Dynamite episode 24, NXT episode 553, and NXT UK episode 85, broadcast on March 18th and 19th, 2020. So I don't normally watch AEW Dynamite. The only episode I've watched since like October or whenever it started was the episode just 2 weeks ago that was here in Colorado. And so this week it was announced that NXT was going to be mostly like documentary type stuff, interviews, archival footage, and all of that. And so I figured, there's not going to be any big surprises on that episode. I'm going to watch the first hour of Dynamite because it was rumored tonight would be the night that the Exalted One would appear, and that seemed like something exciting to tune in for live. And then switch over the second half. During the second hour, I watched Survivor. Although the Exalted One, that segment happened after the first hour. So there's like 10-15 minutes that I was watching both Survivor and AEW. But it worked out as I got to enjoy the surprise as it happened, and didn't get it spoiled, and also didn't get anything from Survivor spoiled. So it was a pretty successful television watching night as far as being spoiler free. But anyway, so we started off Cody in the ring addressing the empty arena or theater that they filmed the show from, talking a little bit about the world and whatnot. But then he segues that into talking to his fellow elite, to Matt Jackson, to Hangman Page, telling them all to get over it, all the stuff that they've been going through, and come together, because if this is going to be the last time that he wants to start it. No, did he say that? It might have been Matt that said that. And I am about to sneeze. Oh, wait. Excuse me. All right, so Matt comes out, Kenny comes out. They say, "Where's Adam?" And Adam comes just into the entrance, and they ask him, "Well, are you in this with us?" And he just gives a quick little nod and a raise of his glass. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good opening of the show. I feel like I have a little bit better of a handle of what's going on with everything than being at the show 2 weeks ago, because of all the stuff from 2 weeks ago. I have knowledge of that now, and so it carries over a lot. But anyway, there was some really I didn't really take extensive notes on what happened in the matches, but there was a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed. Probably my favorite thing was MJF and Sean Spears gambling on all the matches throughout the night. And then there's some crossover with other people coming and going, with having the wrestlers in the audience and some interviews happening from there in the audience, that was able to add some interaction with all of them, because we had Kabian, or what's his name? Kip Sabian. What? Kip Sabian was out there with Penelope Ford, and after Penelope lost her match, it was a fatal four-way. There's an interview with Colt Cabana, and he was talking. Well, he was saying some really nice things about Penelope, but then was talking some trash about Kip Sabian, and then he's there like right behind them, and he hears what he's saying, and he approaches them. They're like going at it a little bit, and Colt is like, I'm a wrestler too, right? So like, let's fight, or if you want to do that. So yeah, that was fun. I like Colt Cabana a lot. He's great. Anyway, before that match happened, so that match was Penelope Ford versus Riho versus Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida. Hikaru pinned Penelope to get the win. And my favorite parts of this match was anything that Chris was doing. I thought was really, really good. But it was a good match in general. Before that, we had Best Friends versus the Lucha Bros with Orange Cassidy on commentary. Man, that guy can talk your ear off if you give him a headset there. And I really enjoyed their. Usually they hug, but instead they elbow bumped, and then they did the zoom out. That was great. Let's see. What does that say? Oh, afterwards. I had to get it. My handwriting. Okay. Let me show you guys. So if you're listening to this episode, you're not going to be able to see this, but go over to YouTube. I'm streaming the streamed version of this episode, which is negligibly different from the what you hear in the audio version. But I'm not going to do a lot of it. Like the sneezing, all that, it's all going to just stay in there because whatever. But if you take a look at my notes. Let's see. Let me get the focus better here. So I was trying to read this part. Challenge to actual. Okay. Challenge to actual streets or parking lots. So I left out some words there. The Best Friends, they challenged the Lucha Bros to a street fight or a parking lot fight, probably more doable. A street fight in an actual street or parking lot. So that could be pretty cool. And depending on what NXT does next week, I'll probably keep watching both shows and I kind of gauge it each week which one I actually watch live, at least for the first hour, because I'm definitely going to be continue watching Survivor live because oh man, go watch or listen to my Survivor episode for this week is episode 6 of season 40. So great. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that was the best show out of all 4 of these shows actually. So I recommend go watching some Survivor. But if you haven't watched previous seasons of Survivor, this is your first season of Survivor, then it probably doesn't have the same appeal, although it is still really, really interesting people. But I think the history of everybody, that really adds to the enjoyment. But anyway, back to Dynamite. We had the Butcher and the Blade versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus got the pin to win that match. And then we had the Dark Order come out. The Exalted One is about to be presented. SCU interrupts. They're like, no, this is you're just wasting our time. There is no Exalted One. It's all just it's a sham. But then the music hits, video package, and the Exalted One appears. It is Brody Lee, formerly known as Brody Lee, but between then and now, he's known as Luke Harper in WWE. And so they attack SCU, and we're off to the races with the Exalted One. So I named this episode The Ones because there's another one a little bit later on to talk about. There's something else that happened between this and the main events. I totally forget what it was. I did watch it, or at least had it on the TV to like get caught up and to see to fill in the gaps. Because later on, I did see the very end of the show just as a clip, but I thought it'd probably be good to watch the whole rest of this episode. We had Matt Jackson, Adam Page, and Cody, because Kenny Omega is still not medically cleared to compete. They fought against Santana and Ortiz and Jake Hager. 3-on-3. We had an entrance for the inner circle all made their entrances with it. Chris Jericho comes out, and we have Sammy Guevara singing along to Judas. That was really fun. I did enjoy that, and then we had the match. I didn't write down anything from the actual match, but afterwards, I think Inner Circle won. But Jericho cuts a promo afterwards, and he says, "You know what? I'm making the call. All fans are banned from all future events. No matter what happens, it doesn't matter if they're allowed to come again anyway. I that's my ruling." So that was pretty funny. But then, as they're down, having Nick Jackson, they're outnumbered, but as they're kind of face to face, or rather facing off across a distance, face to face at a distance, Vanguard 1 comes flying into the ring, and like as soon as I saw that, I knew, yeah, that's okay. That's what's happening right now, and it lands. And Matt's talking about how, I made a phone call. Somebody goes us a favor, and we're not outnumbered. And then we see at the up there in the audience, in the stands, up on the balcony, there's Matt Hardy. He has returned. So that's the other one in the title of this episode's of the ones. So there you go. So yeah, it would be pretty cool. I'm glad that Matt Hardy is not the Exalted One. It seemed like a big percentage of people thought that he would be the Exalted One, and I think that it's a really good thing that he's not, because then he can do his own thing instead of being kind of not really stuck, but having to fit into what they've already done with the Dark Order. Now it can just be completely his own thing, not attached to anything else that has been established yet. Whereas with Brody Lee, he can slide right in there and fit into that, because it's not like he had any characters or story stuff going on to lead into this from WWE or from even before that, all that kind of stuff. So I thought Brody Lee is a much better fit for that role that's been being shaped over the last many months already. So I think it'll be some pretty cool possibilities. However the show moves forward in the future, it was a purposeful decision not to say next week on this episode, since it's everything is so unsure of at the moment. And I thought that was that's a good call, and it's similar to the call that I noticed last week on SmackDown, that they didn't mention Tampa or Raymond James Stadium when talking about WrestleMania. They only talked about when WrestleMania happens and the date. And as it turns out, that's what they're going to do. They're going to have the WrestleMania not out of Tampa in the stadium, but mostly out of the Performance Center, and most recently that it will be from multiple locations, not just the Performance Center in the ring there. So that has some pretty cool possibilities. And if like the entire thing is pre-taped, totally fine. Like if they have WrestleMania filmed and done like as I'm recording this 2 weeks out, that's great as far as health and safety and all that is concerned. Like get it all taped, and then then go on break after WrestleMania, and then we'll go from there after that. Just like wrap up all the storylines in like the most epic way you can without an audience. That'll be real good. But that brings us to NXT, and it makes a lot of sense now, knowing that they've been working on filming the next couple weeks of Raw and SmackDown. so they don't have to do them live. It makes sense that they didn't do NXT live out of the Performance Center, that they were probably working on creating this the next couple of weeks of stuff out of there at the moment. So this week's NXT, it was about an hour or so, just going through the entire history of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Really great for anybody who's just started watching NXT, because this story goes all the way back to like 2016, I think, with the Cruiserweight Classic. So yeah, I thought it was really cool, and they showed a good amount of matches, especially both of their matches at TakeOver Portland. So both of their most recent matches. Then we had a documentary about Finn, talking about his rise and going over to Raw, and now making his return to NXT, and that he's going after Walter and all of that. That was maybe only like a half hour ish. And also we got to see his match versus Adam Cole at TakeOver Portland. And then we had a video package with Rhea talking about her match coming up with Charlotte. And so, yeah, the whole episode was really good, but it was all like recap of these stories so far. And it's also, I mean, it's up in the air. When are these matches actually going to happen? Because TakeOver is not happening WrestleMania weekends. We're having that's another thing. WrestleMania is happening over 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. And TakeOver was previously going to happen that Saturday, but now its status is in question, along with so many other things. So yeah, it was cool to see this kind of stuff, and it's also really cool that they're able to create new episodes without any like new stuff. I know it can be seen as a negative, but with how much they filmed, all interviews and all that kind of stuff that they just have ready to use or prepared to use for other things, or just for these just for a video package before the matches. I think it's a pretty cool episode overall. With the commercial breaks, it makes it a bit harder to watch than if this was just on the network, just going straight through. Same thing with pay-per-view matches. Those that they showed Royal Rumble this past Monday, and they showed Elimination Chamber last week. Those seem so much longer, because they are a lot longer if they're not cutting anything out, because they just basically just pause it for the commercial and come back right there, and that makes it just even longer than it was to watch it live. But anyway, for the circumstances, I thought this is a good way to go, and with the knowledge now that they have possibly already been working on filming ahead of time for Raw and SmackDown, it makes even more sense. It was also hosted by Tom Phillips and Triple H. I think they did it out of Stanford because they were on like a virtual set, or maybe they might have been in Florida. I don't know. But they were not in the Performance Center, like the arena of the Performance Center. They were on a virtual set green screen deal, which is totally fine for what they were doing for it. They're just hosting this night. And that brings us to NXT UK, an episode that was filmed a couple of weeks ago. So we still have, I think, 2 more weeks of NXT UK that they filmed with a live audience and all of that. So if you're looking for the most normal wrestling, we still have a couple more weeks of pre-global weirdness episodes of NXT UK to watch. That might also be the case with NWA Power. I'm not sure. I haven't been keeping track of that, because they tape a whole bunch of episodes ahead of time as well. But anyway, I was really happy to see because this was on Thursday. I didn't stream or anything on Thursday. It was a real. I just wasn't feeling like doing anything at all that day, like the entire day. When I finally got around to doing something, it was a couple hours after this was broadcast on the network, and so I turned on. Okay, I'll check out. I'll watch NXT UK. I was planning to watch it anyway. I missed watching it as it was broadcast live. Not actually live, but when it debuted on the network. And the show opens up with Kaylee Ray having a match versus Dani Luna. She's fairly new. I think this might be her second match since joining NXT UK. But that immediately brightens my day. It made me feel a lot better. Getting to watch a brand new, haven't seen it before, Kaylee Ray match. She wins via the Gory Bomb, and then Piper Niven appears, and her eyes being on the championship is, she's had her eyes on the championship for months now, but now Toni Storm is out of the way. She can no longer challenge Kaylee Ray. It's all Piper Niven's. It's all in Piper Niven's court. We had a backstage clip from earlier in that day with everyone just looking at Finn like he's like, what is it? Who does this guy think he is? He just comes here like like he owns the place, and he comes face to face with Tyler Bate, who takes up that issue with Sid Scala and Johnny Saint, and he asks for a match with Finn Balor so he can kind of put him in his place. They said, well, maybe that'll happen later, but in 2 weeks, there's going to be a 20-man battle royal to determine who will be Walter's next opponent. I think it's to determine that. To be who will challenge for the UK Championship. I think they did say at TakeOver Dublin. But who knows when, if that takeover will happen. But hey, we'll see. Play out what you've already done for this month. It's the episodes that you filmed. I think that's okay. And then we have an Aoife Valkyrie video package, and then a challenge issued to Valkyrie by Nina Samuels. So I think that we'll see that either next week or the following week. Then we had Joseph Connors versus Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland won that match via Northern Grit. Then backstage, we see that Mark Andrews has been attacked, and his friends suspect that Gallus is responsible. And so they challenge them, and that ends up being our main event. But before that, we have Cassius Ohno versus Kenny Williams. Cassius Ohno wins that match via the Cassius Clutch. And then our main event of Gallus versus the team of Flash Morgan Webster, Bomber Dave Mastiff, and their surprise teammate Trent Seven, and he gives them honorary Mustache Mountain towels so that they could do the entrance, the thing with the towel on the rope with them, but neither of theirs stay on there. Trent Seven, of course, does it perfectly, so I enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of neat. That was, oh yeah, this is the first time those two ever did that. Of course, the towel falls off. I've been really surprised if all three towels stayed on. So they're like honorary Mustache Mountain. They could be building like a Mustache Mountain range, adding these guys into the fold. I don't know. Could work. Oddly enough, this episode did not feature appearances by anybody in Imperium. So that's kind of interesting. But the match happened with Joe. The match ended with Joe Coffey pinning Flash Morgan Webster, and so the Gallus remains on top as far as tag team wrestling goes. Joe still wants his hands on that UK championship. I'm sure that he and the others are going to be in that 20-man battle royal. I mean, like everybody's going to be in that. They basically have 20 men on the roster. So I think everybody is in that match. But we'll see in 2 weeks. And that's it. That's all for this week's Wednesday and Thursday night shows that I watch. Of course, there's also some other stuff, I think, that was broadcast on those 2 days. But I'm not sure. But anyway, if there is other stuff this week that you've enjoyed watching, also I watched The Bump this morning. It was a really good episode. It's the first time I've watched an entire episode and the first time I've watched it as it broadcast live. I've watched bits and pieces of other episodes of The Bump early before, but this one was great. It had Braun Strowman, and they like overlapped guests. So they had started with Braun Strowman, then brought Drake Maverick in, and then he left, and Braun Strowman still stayed on the line, and then brought Alexa Bliss on to talk about all kinds of stuff, but also talking. Braun Strowman was still on the line, and then Braun Strowman left, and Alexa Bliss continued on for a while. So it was really great, like Skype format for that. And then also Xavier Woods appeared at the end of the show, talking about all the stuff he's got going on. So it was a solid episode of The Bump. Go check it out. It's on YouTube. So. Yeah, that's everything as far as wrestling goes that I wanted to talk about. Later tonight, I'll talk about tonight's episode of SmackDown shortly after it finishes broadcasting. So stay tuned for that, and let me know what you thought about all of these shows, what you're excited for to see happen in the future on these shows. It's we're just going week to week, but the stories that are developing and are unfolding, I'm enjoying pretty much everything right now, and hopefully everybody else is as well. So let me know what you thought about all that stuff by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe in iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe out there in all of the infinite multiverses, and I'll see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.